Hey, I'm Jim.
Hey, this is Corey.
Our topics today, the end of Ford sedans and what that might mean to some of our inexpensive enthusiast cars.
Hmm. And this is not going to be inexpensive, unfortunately. But former British car that are just now Chinese and also very expensive, toy in a box. More in a minute. Let's go.
All right, let's go. All right, so the news has been out for at least, several months, I think even since April. But Ford and other American companies, GM and for sure, are discontinuing a lot of their sedans because they're just not selling as well. They're trying to restructure and they're trying to focus more on SUVs, which are the hot sellers now, and they've been that way for a long time. So generally speaking, there's a lot of these sedans that I see on the chopping block that I don't personally care about a whole heck of a lot. Buick LaCrosse, meh. You
Why
got.
do they keep making them?
I know, right? And then you've got the Ford Taurus and a couple others that neither here nor there, in my opinion. Good cars have been around a long time, but not cars that interest me a whole heck of a lot. However, there are some others that I think they might have some problems. So okay, you got the Focus, which it's their little economy car, yes, but there's also the Focus ST, which is for a lot of people. That's their entry level, enthusiast sports car, something that's still offered a manual, all that. Even smaller than that, you got the Fiesta, same thing. The Fiesta ST, was a good.
I'm a fan of the Focus ST.
Yeah, Focus and Fiesta even. They're cool little hot hatches. The things I don't love so much, front wheel drive, but they're still, inexpensive, manual, quick cars that they were options out there. Some of the last inexpensive manual enthusiast cars that were out there. And it's a bummer to kind of see that go. But now this is the worst because, in my opinion, it's also the Focus RS. So that was 350 horsepower, all-wheel drive, manual, hot hatch. That was definitely a bit more expensive, but it was, as far as I can think, the only car that really competes with the WRX and definitely the WRX STI as another alternative. And, you're getting 350 horsepower manual for not a ton of money, especially if you looked at it a little bit used. That was a really cool option out there, and that's gone. That car has only been out for 3 years.
Yeah,
it came out in 2016.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead. But
yeah, I was going to say, I feel like that just came out, and there was so much excitement.
Yeah, and actually, I had to go back and look it up because I thought it had only been out maybe 2 years, but it actually has been out 3. 2016 was the first year. But that was an awesome car, and again, a real competitor to the WRX, which really has nothing now. The Evo's been gone, and it's going to hit the chopping block, which I think is kind of a big bummer. And it just goes to show you how all these little manual cars are just disappearing. Mm-hmm. And I know one of the things that they're trying to replace it with, something that I don't know if you've seen commercials recently, I'm starting to see them a lot, is you've got the Ford Edge ST.
Yeah.
So they're starting to really push their SUVs because that's where they're going. So they're small crossover SUVs with, an ST package, which is going to make it a little bit sportier and all that. But it's honestly not that great. I've also seen it, tested and loaded up, and it starts to crack the $50,000 mark.
What?
Yeah. No, 53,000 is how I saw one tested. And, it's got a lot of nice equipment and all that stuff. But again, it just, in my opinion, pushing it way out of the realm of where this type of a car should be, and certainly where the Fiesta and the Focus were in their ST models. And I just don't like it. There never seems to be anything great. The only other car that's kind of in that category that's out now, is popular, doing pretty well, is the new Civic Type R. But number one, I think the styling's horrible. But more than that, it's another, it's quick, but it's a front wheel drive car and all that stuff. So in my opinion, it's not really in the same league as the WRX STI RS where the Evo was. It's a different type of car. And so I feel like that whole breed is just kind of dying out. And that's the thing that I like least about these sedans disappearing in this push for SUVs. Go ahead.
If Ford thinks they can ST the Edge, then I think that they think there's a market for some sport in there somewhere.
Yeah. They basically they need a hot hatch, but they need to lift it up and make it a crossover because that's
it's not. It stinks. It's not. Yeah, it's not the Focus.
So, what you get, in my opinion, with so many of these cars, these crossovers, is you get one that's trying to be everything and it's good at nothing. Correct. So yes, it's a crossover, but really it's certainly not meant for or good at being an off-road vehicle. It just gives you some extra traction in case you get some snow. Mm-hmm. And then for being a hot hatch, it's big, it's heavy. Right. So it's not nearly as fast. In fact,
it has some decent numbers stats wise for the ST, but it's big. 335 horse, 380 torque.
I wanted to just show real quick. So so it's 335 horsepower, 380 torque. So less horsepower than the RS that it's kind of replacing. I don't know if you can really say it's replacing it, but kind of trying to walk in its shoes. There it is right there. Base price 43, prices tested. There's 52 on this one. 0 to 60, 5.7. That's nothing. Nowadays, that's nothing special at all. You've got the RS in particular was doing it in the low 4s.
Yeah.
So not that fast, certainly not meant for off-road. So you're kind of in the middle of nowhere, in my opinion. You got a car that's kind of not that great at a couple of things. I don't know. I mean,
if they make the Edge ST, what they should do, this would be way more money, of course, but this doesn't get me excited. If they were to put the Raptor engine in the Explorer or something and try to compete with, the Trackhawk or something. But
because that's what I was going to say. That's the one thing I kind of paused for a second when I was saying that these cars that are trying to be everything are good at nothing. I paused for a second because there are a few out there, and the Trackhawk is certainly one. Price is way higher than the stuff we're talking about here, but that is obviously a serious performer and is awesome, and I would take one in a heartbeat. So that one I'll kind of leave out of this mix. But for the stuff that
Ford knows, it's just it's frustrating. Ford knows there's a market for ST, so they're putting it in the Edge, but it's not what they had.
Yeah. And I assume it has nothing. Right. The ST is what they still have interest in. It's just all the other sedans are not selling as well, and they think they can do better, and their margins are larger on their SUVs and all that. So that's what they're going to do it. But since they can no longer decided to no longer make cars like the Fiesta and the Focus, then there goes the ST models. They can't just keep the STs, So there goes the platform. So that car is just gone. But again, and real quick with the ST, the Edge ST, of course, no manuals offered. So another whole section of cars that are just the manuals are gone again. So we're winding down. There's hardly any left.
Yeah,
I think that's it.
I feel like though this happened. So when was gas $4 several years ago? 05, 03, something like that.
Yeah.
So this happened then. I remember truck sales tanked. Everybody came out with small cars and efficient cars.
Well, cafe standards being a huge
true
part of that. But yes, absolutely. All of a sudden nobody was buying SUVs from one second to the next.
But I feel like, are the automakers doing a knee-jerk reaction? Or I'll say no to that, because I did see, I was trying to find it right now. I can't find it. But Wall Street Journal had a graph of vehicle breakdown, consumers and what, automotive or car versus, they kind of bundled in van and SUV in one group. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to butcher this. I need to find it. But I think it was in the late 90s, early 2000s. 70% were cars, 30% were SUV. That's completely inverse now. It is now 70% SUV van, 30% car. So, it makes sense for these manufacturers to be axing the cars because they're big sellers. But when gas shoots up again, then what?
Yeah.
It's like, are you going to not have anything? I mean, so Ford they're going to continue doing the Mustang, but that's not bought for efficiency. I mean, is that it? The everything else is a sport U crossover-ish type, and then of course the F-150, and then Chevy, they just did the same
I've
thing.
heard they're gonna keep the Fusion for some time. I mean, it seems like its days are numbered as well, but it seems like keep it for a little while.
I think they're 2020 maybe.
Maybe, yeah.
I heard one of the vehicles are going through 2020 on the Ford side, and then but yeah, and the GM just announced the same thing recently with the Impala, the LaCrosse, so Buick, GM, and Chevy, Cadillac, yep.
Cadillac.
And so of course Corvette and Camaro's left, and a million crossovers.
Yeah. So here's something I was thinking about though, is what is that going to do to the value of the Ford Focus RS? A car that was a super niche type of enthusiast car that was only produced for 3 years and it's suddenly gone like that. I assume that their resale value is gonna it's gonna stay high for a long time. It's gonna be 3-4 years from now people are still paying 35 grand for an RS. I think that's interesting. I wonder if that's going to create its own little sub market.
Probably.
Yeah. Because there's not that many left. I still think there's room out there for some car company to focus on cheap, fast, and inexpensive, and manual. Just simple car. So anyway, I think that's interesting. Real quick, by the way, one last thing on the Ford Focus ST. I mean, excuse me, not the Ford Edge ST. Curb weight, almost 4,600 pounds. So it's not going to compete. It's just not. It's not on the same. It's just not in the same planet as these lightweight light cars.
You're not going to be tossing that thing around.
No. And if they want to toss it around, then it's going to need a trick suspension with all kinds of modes and all this thing, and so the price goes up and up and up. There's just nothing simple left. Bugs me. All right, so what else you got?
More frustration.
That's what it sounds like.
All right, so let me turn this around. There you go again. Remember this car?
Free.
Yes.
My favorite.
So this is when cars were awesome.
Yep.
And okay, the Esprit V8. I know it's one of your favorites. It's a pretty sweet car.
Yep.
This was naturally aspirated too, wasn't it? Was it? Or was it turbo?
Ooh. My initial thought was that it is. Well, there's Lotus Esprit Turbo, which was a Turbo 4, but then they made the Lotus Esprit V8. I think it was naturally aspirated.
I think it's 350 horse. But anyway, a car a lot of people liked, had a good following. And then out comes the now I'm blanking, right for this. After the Esprit, then the Elise. So it's a completely different car, much smaller, much lighter, 4-cylinder, but still, handling like a go-kart.
Yep.
And awesome. But I kind of heard about this in the news a while ago. Well, this was last year, but I don't really I didn't really remember it until I looked it up. And I'm going to stop sharing here for just a moment. Did you know Lotus was purchased in 2017 by a Chinese company? They were purchased by a Chinese company in 2017, but then nobody knew what happened. They kind of fell off the face of the earth, and all of a sudden they're putting like $1.5 billion into the brand. But here's the frustrating part: they're coming out with a hypercar, so it's going to be it's going to be another level that Lotus was not.
All right.
It was an attainable car, and it's going to come out, and it's frustrating. So they're looking for 1,000 horsepower target, which is great, fun, but it's supposed to be all electric, which is it's not Lotus. It's going to be this all electric hypercar, and it's supposed to be and I haven't done the conversion, a £2 million price tag, and it's going to be up to Bugatti Chiron prices.
Yeah.
So here comes this Chinese company that they just need to rename it. It shouldn't be called Lotus. I don't know what they bought. They bought Lotus and they just destroyed it.
Yeah, they should definitely not use the brand when it has such a heritage and change it around completely. But the other thing I want to know is where are the cars that fill in that gap? There's something between the $1 million marks and the almost pushing $80,000 to $100,000 marks. There's just nothing left in the lower ranges that are still fun and exciting. And I just feel like there's a huge. I mean, that's where the people are, right? Like, not everyone can afford 50, 60, 80, $100 million cars, and yet that's what every car that comes out is going to that direction, going to that price range.
But they're selling dag on it.
I guess.
It's obviously if they weren't selling, they would come up with something different, but they know they can get the money.
Yeah.
So,
and I know we've talked about this, but obviously the problem is 72, 82 month loans and all that type of ridiculousness that now.
Well, and these you need like RV loan.
Yeah, really.
Like 15, 20 years.
Yeah.
So that's my new short but frustrating. There is I can show you what it looks like. It's just a little I mean, it looks like a toy from a Chinese company.
Does it? Oh yeah, see me pull a picture because I haven't seen any of that.
And this is total rendering. There we go.
Yeah,
it's cool, but I mean,
it looks awesome, but it's just the concept junk that is cool to look at, and they're gonna impress you with all their over the top stats and all this stuff, and then the price will be over the top, like you already said. And it's cool. It lets car companies test what their limits are, what they can, what can be done. But it's something that's actually going to end up in your driveway.
Yeah. So anyway, that's Lotus. My next thing, real quick. I'm sure you can see it up here. Ta-da!
Yes.
But this is also a little bit depressing, just because it costs $20,000 and you still don't have a vehicle.
That's right. I'm just thinking, you could just pop it right in your Jeep, right?
Yeah.
Wouldn't need to do anything else. Just drop her in.
Nope. I know the drivetrain could handle it.
I'm sure the quad drive is ready.
I'm sure that the stock 200,000 mile disc could handle. Grenade in 2 seconds.
That'd be so fun.
Anyway, I didn't really know that they were selling this in crate form. So it's Hellcat engine. So what do we have? The engine assembly for 19.5, kits and whatnots. Look at this; it's discounted. It's the deal.
Mm.
Anyway, I thought
it'd be awesome.
Cool.
I mean, if you're doing a project car,
yeah,
especially an older, maybe like a resto mod, Mopar car in particular, obviously, how awesome would that be to drop in a new Hellcat engine?
Yeah,
into something, keep it light, and it'd be an animal.
I don't think I've seen this in a Wrangler yet.
Oh, it's coming.
Oh, I'm sure. But we've seen a Viper, we've seen the V10 dropped in. There's been just standard Hemis dropped in. I'm sure this is coming.
Yep.
I wonder how big this is compared to because is this the 6? Is it 6.2 or 6.4 liter?
Hellcat, I think was a. Oh geez, I don't want to mess up. But I want to say it was a smaller.
I think it's a 6.2.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Yeah, 6.2. Right.
I was gonna say I just remember it being the
that's
opposite.
Why we have one follower.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it just would be interesting. I'm sure someone can get it in the Wrangler.
Yeah. Oh, it'll happen.
But anyway.
Oh, what about this? The Hellcat Gladiator.
Yes.
That'd be awesome. Somebody will do it.
Just buy multiple ones of these and put it in every car you have.
Yeah. Hellcat all things.
Very
cool.
So
the Hellcrate.
Yes. Anyway, That's all I had for today.
All right.
Wouldn't it be fun to just? I mean, it comes with all these harnesses and pulleys. How? I've never, I think I can change an O2 sensor. That's all I can do. So, what would a project like this look like? Obviously, it depends on what vehicle you throw it into, but that would be fun to be a part of. If someone else knows what they're doing and all that.
And has the tools and everything else.
Oh, yeah.
Always the problem with this type of stuff is that, it's one thing to do an engine swap, but then everything down the line.
Right. All your other accessories and things that you use.
Yeah. You have to do it. You have to redo everything. Mm-hmm. And a lot of it you're going to be, making fit. So anyway, yeah, but that would be fun to be a part of. So I guess on that
bombshell. The engine with no vehicle.
Yep. There you go. It's the only Hellcat we can afford.
That's right.
There you go.
Can you start it up and listen to it? No.
Be deafening.
You can just stare at it. All right. That's all for now.
See you later.
Bye.